He was 31 years old, already famous, but facing a reality that felt unbearable. His hearing was slipping away. The world that had once been alive with music was growing quieter each day. In a letter that would never be sent, the Heiligenstadt Testament, he poured out his despair. "I would have ended my life. It was only my art that held me back," he wrote to his brothers. The words, dated October 6th and 10th, are raw and unfiltered, describing a man haunted by the sound of constant ringing and the fear of total silence. The symptoms had begun in his late 20s. At first, a faint buzzing, then difficulty hearing high notes, then voices fading at social gatherings. By 1811, Beethoven could no longer perform in public, and withdrawing from the salons and concert halls that once defined his life. Yet the music inside him only grew louder. He filled sketchbooks with fragments, obsessively repeating and reshaping the same motifs. He hammered out rhythms on the piano, feeling the vibration through the floorboards, chasing the sensation of sound in his bones. Isolation became both his prison and his fuel. In the silence, Beethoven found a new kind of urgency. He wrote as if fighting against time, each piece a battle to prove that music could survive, even when the world refused to listen. The tension, the dukkan, the repetition, the relentless drive, these were not just compositional choices. They were the sound of a man refusing to disappear, turning crisis into rhythm and pain into something that could reverberate far beyond his own fading ears. Inside the silence of his late years, Beethoven began to shape music that seemed to break from the past. He stripped melodies down to their core, building entire movements from the obsessive repetition of a few notes, a rhythmic cell, a fragment, a pulse hammered out again and again until it became something new. In the seventh movement of his string quartet, Opus 131, short, jagged motifs ricochet between instruments, forming a lattice of sound that grows more hypnotic with each cycle. The Grosse Fuge, written as the original finale to his Opus 130 quartet, launches with a barrage of syncopated figures, tiny rhythmic ideas stretched, twisted, and hurled back at each other in a relentless fugue. Here, repetition is not just a tool for development, it is a force, a kind of musical gravity that pulls everything into its orbit. Dynamics swing from a whisper to a roar in an instant. In the arietta of his final piano sonata, Opus 111, Beethoven sets up a gentle theme, then shatters it with percussive attacks and abrupt silences. The listener is left suspended, waiting for the next eruption. These extremes are not just for effect. They create tension, a sense of unresolved energy that lingers long after the final note fades. Even silence becomes a weapon. Beethoven interrupts flowing lines with sudden rests, letting the absence of sound speak as loudly as the music itself. This obsession with motif and rhythm did not appear out of nowhere. Mozart's late symphonies, with their driving patterns and playful repetition, and Bach's fugues built from endlessly reworked fragments, both left their mark. But Beethoven pushed these ideas to the edge, transforming simple cells into engines of raw power. His late works pulse with a physicality that feels startlingly modern. Music as architecture, as heartbeat, as something closer to trance than tradition. The result is a sound world where rules dissolve, and the only constant is the urge to repeat, to push, to break through. The city's underground rap scene was alive with raw energy. Producers loaded up battered cassette decks and pieced together beats with whatever gear they could find. 3-6 Mafia, just teenagers at the time, stitched together relentless loops on SP1200 samplers. Their tracks pulsed with 808 drums, cowbells, and eerie, chopped-up samples. The music moved fast, 140, sometimes 150 beats per minute, yet it felt slow, heavy, almost hypnotic. Each tape was a hand-to-hand artifact, sold from the back seat or at corner stores, with circulation numbers that ran into the thousands, long before any label paid attention. Across state lines in Houston, DJ Screw was working his own brand of tape magic. He slowed tracks to a crawl, chopping and repeating fragments until they took on an otherworldly haze. While Screw's chopped and screwed method became legend, Memphis crews like Tommy Wright III and DJ Zirk kept their focus on repetition and drive. Their tapes didn't just play, they looped, circled, and pressed motifs into the listener's mind. The effect was physical, almost trance-inducing. It wasn't about technical polish, it was about impact, about making the music hit so hard you felt it in your chest. This was music built for cruising, for drifting through humid southern nights, for claiming space in a world that offered little. The gritty lo-fi production wasn't a limitation, it was the signature. Tape hiss, vinyl crackle, distorted bass. These became part of the sonic identity. In that repetition, in those looping motifs, the Memphis sound found its power. The DNA of Phonk was set, not by accident, but by a relentless commitment to groove, atmosphere, and the kind of tension that never quite lets you go. A new generation of producers picked up the Memphis blueprint and ran with it, but this time the movement didn't need street corners or hand-dubbed cassettes. Space Ghost Perp, a teenager from Miami, uploaded his first tracks to MySpace and SoundCloud in 2011, naming the sound Phonk and throwing open the doors to a global audience. The raw, looping beats and chopped vocals were instantly recognizable, but now they traveled at the speed of the internet. Within months, forums from Russia to Brazil buzzed with links to his mixtapes. Smokey's tracks thumped with distorted 808s and cowbell, while Sudiere layered in jazz and soul samples, twisting them into hypnotic loops. The rules were simple. If you had a laptop and a cracked copy of FL Studio, you could join the movement. YouTube channels like Trill Phonk and Phonk City curated endless playlists, while SoundCloud's algorithm started recommending obscure Phonk tracks to anyone who lingered too long on a Memphis classic. The do-it-yourself spirit thrived. Producers swapped drum kits and samples in Discord servers, dropped free stems on Bandcamp, and watched their tracks rack up millions of streams from bedrooms in Europe to car meets in Tokyo. This wasn't just nostalgia. The Phonk revival rode the same algorithmic wave that had resurrected vaporwave and lo-fi hip-hop, but with a harder edge. The looping cowbells, blown-out bass, and trance-like repetition created a physical pull, music built for drifting, for late nights, for losing yourself in a beat that never quite lets go. The underground ethos stayed intact, even as the sound found its way into viral TikToks and Spotify's global charts. In this ecosystem, a remix or a sample could travel farther and faster than ever, turning forgotten motifs into new obsessions and setting the stage for something stranger, the collision of Beethoven and Phonk. Here, among smudged pencil marks and crossed-out bars, the fragments of the so-called 10th Symphony wait in silence. Each folio, some barely more than a few lines of melody and others dense with rhythmic cells, sits catalogued and preserved, untouched by orchestration. These are not lost to time or locked behind glass. They are public domain, available for study, sampling, and reinterpretation. Archivists have digitized the sketches, granting researchers and musicians around the world ethical access to Beethoven's raw creative process. When Barry Cooper pieced together a realization of the 10th in 1988, he relied on these very sources, following the shelf numbers and folio references that guide every serious Beethoven scholar. Today, any technical demonstration or remix begins here, with the original motifs as documented in the Bonn archives. The line between historical artifact and living material is thin, each fragment a proof of origin before any transformation or remix can begin. A single Beethoven motif, 4 notes, jagged and unresolved, drops into a digital audio workstation, stripped from a centuries-old sketchbook and mapped onto a blank grid. The producer slices the phrase, stretches it to half-time, and buries it beneath a wall of distorted 808 bass. Cowbells and hi-hats snap in at 140 beats per minute, looping the motif until it pulses with new urgency. Each layer is built from the ground up, EQ to carve out space, sidechain compression to make the bass breathe, reverb to blur the edges. The process is fast, almost surgical. What once demanded months of rehearsal now comes together in hours. With Beethoven's motif now fused to a hypnotic beat, the track is exported and uploaded to Spotify and YouTube. Because the source material is public domain, no copyright claim interrupts the chain. Within days, the remix lands in algorithm-driven playlists, recommended to listeners who never searched for Beethoven. Streams spike as the platform's code detects the track's energy and looped structure, pushing it out to drift racers in Brazil, students in Seoul, and night shift workers in Berlin. The motif, once silent on a shelf in Bonn, now vibrates through subwoofers worldwide, proof that a fragment of the past can be reborn, multiplied, and heard by millions in a new language of rhythm and repetition. Beethoven's pulse still echoes, mutated and glitched, impossible to silence. As digital culture resurrects forgotten rhythms, what is lost is not gone, it is waiting to be reawakened. Sound endures by shape-shifting. Today, the boundary between past and present blurs, and the beat, relentless as obsession, refuses to die. Drop your thoughts below.